recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Can I start off the show with some hilarity? Grayson, will you object?
No. What you got?
I don't know whether it will touch the hilarity of the Babe Tournament lore. That was incredible. I had not yet been apprised of the Babe Tournament lore until last segment with Steele.
Yeah, what were y'all talking about?
Apparently, he and his coworkers, 20, 25 years ago, used to have a tournament of babes with a 64-team field in which they would seed all of the babes and then determine the winners of each of the matchups. They said they did it for like 5 or 6 years.
I have heard Steely tell this story.
And obviously that's not something that you could do in 2025, probably?
No, you and I couldn't do that.
But, the old-time lore like that is one of the things I appreciate most about working with Steely. There's always some new story I haven't heard from the good old days. But what I want to do today on the show is, as we continue to evaluate and just take stock of Oklahoma's 2026 class that signed last week, I want to rate the class by position group. I want to go through it position by position and rate the work that each assistant coach did recruiting their respective position groups in the 2026 cycle. But I read this earlier on the interwebs, and it was too good not to share. Because as we know, the big story right now across the college football world is the debacle that is actively unfolding up at Michigan because of Sharon Moore's infidelity and impropriety. And there was somebody that commented on Twitter.com about how basically Jim Harbaugh was the polar opposite of that. At least when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach, you never had to worry about anything like that. And someone else quote tweeted that tweet with a link to this incredible Jim Harbaugh story that I just have to share. Because you want to talk about a football guy, Jim Harbaugh is a football guy.
Mm-hmm.
This was posted by a rando on a blog back on January 20th, 2015. Its title is, I Have a Jim Harbaugh Story. Here is the story. I will now relate it to you in its sanitized entirety. Springtime in Ann Arbor is gorgeous, and when the sun is out and the sky is cloudless, few things are as grand as doing some outdoor drinking. For law students, the best place to do that was at Dominic's, a tapas and sangria joint across the street from the law library. It was mostly outdoor drinking and dining, and its proximity to the School of Education, undergraduate library, and Michigan Union Building made it a gathering spot for the male law students' main non-academic interest, female undergrads. Naturally, as a single alcoholic, I found myself at Dominic's quite often. On one particular spring day, I was sitting and drinking with my buds Ted, Jerry, and some randoms, when lo and behold, Jim Harbaugh walks into the joint with a buddy that sort of looked like him. Looking back, that must have been John Harbaugh, but who knows? They sat down and had a few beers. They were pretty chill and trying not to be noticed. At some point, Jim got a call on his cell, still something of a novelty back then, and became agitated. At the end of the call, he leaned back, grimaced, and looked around. In the table next to him, there were 3 somewhat cute undergrads. He looked at them and said, "Want to throw the ball around?" They knew who he was and were excited to play with Jim and, maybe have some fun. Now, in my 3 years at Michigan, I had seen some variant of this move many times from both current athletes and former Michigan athletes who come back to Ann Arbor. The dudes have to find some way to signal to the ladies, yes, I'm an athlete and you definitely want to get with me. This might involve, say, something as low-key as mentioning, I can't stay out too late, I have 7 a.m. practice. Oh, really, she says. What sport do you play? Boom, game over. But I've also seen dudes just out of the blue ask girls if they want to try on their Orange Bowl rings or if they want to see their NFL Players Association card. When all else fails, you can have a buddy say, Derek plays for the Yankees, right? In other words, as Jim took those girls across the street to the law school quadrangle yard to throw the pigskin, I was pretty certain that this would end with at least one of them retiring to a more private location with Jim. My group and I were sitting at a patio table, so we had a front row seat to everything that happened next. Jim told the girls to stand about 15 yards away. He warmed up his arm with some windmill swings, then lightly tossed the ball to each of them, pretty much what you'd expect when you're using, hey, let's play catch, as an amorous icebreaker. Jim wasn't done, though. After 5 or 6 slow tosses, his arm was apparently warmed up. He said to the first girl, keep your hands up, thumbs down, and he showed her the proper motion with his own hands. When she didn't get it quite right, he grabbed her wrists and showed her how to position her hands. He then paced off 15 yards, held the ball in front of him, squatted like he was under center, patted the ball hard, took 3 hard steps back, planted his back leg, and fired the ball at the first girl.
I knew that was coming.
As he let the ball go, you could hear it click as his fingernails hit the ball, and I kid you not, as the ball whizzed through the air, you could hear it. Stoop. It hit the girl in the shoulder and knocked her down. Jim wasn't playing. Come on, let's go, Jim barked. While girl number 1 picked herself up, girl number 2 gamely grabbed the ball and lobbed it back. Again, Jim got in his QB squat, smacked the ball, did a hard 3-step drop back, and fired the ball at girl number 3. She ducked, but the ball hit off the top of her head and went into the street. Girl number 2 ran after it, while girl number 3 sat on the ground rubbing her head. When girl number 2's throw back to Jim was short, he got a bit annoyed and set the girls up in a relay so that 2 girls were about 25 yards away, and the third girl was halfway in between so that the girls could throw to her, and she would run the ball to Jim. For the next 5 to 10 minutes, he was firing balls at these 2 poor girls, knocking them down or hitting them in the face about half the time. He was 100% oblivious. Admittedly, we were pretty drunk, but this was hilarious to me, Jerry, and Ted. We were dying laughing every time one of those poor undergrads got hit in the melon from a Jim Harbaugh fastball. When one girl attempted to catch a ball with her hands, she sprained her finger or something and fell to the ground, clutching her hand in pain. Jim didn't care. At this point, Jim wants to run some routes. Stationary targets aren't enough.
Say what now?
So he tells the 2 girls doing the catching, you run straight 10 yards and turn around. The ball will be there when you turn around, so have your hands up. You can imagine what happened. She runs 10 yards, turns around, and gets blasted in the face with a Harbaugh pass. She tumbles over, clutching her forehead. Jerry can't take it anymore and just starts laughing so hard that his face turns a shade of purple red that has us a bit concerned. It might have just been the booze. Anyway, Jim tells the second girl to run a post and then he'll put it over her shoulder. He does, but she drops it. He doesn't look pleased. Bring it back. Again. Second time, same result. Bring it back. Again. Third time, same result. Bring it back. Again. 4th time she catches it. With a scowl on his face, he puts his hands up in a touchdown signal, then reaches into his back pocket for his dip. At this point, Jim seems satisfied. Thanks, fellas, he says. Then he jogs across the street, sits down, and starts drinking with his brother again. I'm looking at the girls, all dirty, sweaty, injured, and absolutely confused as to what the heck just happened. To be honest, 15 years later, I still don't know. Jim is just a wonderful kind of crazy, and for reasons I can't quite explain, that story absolutely encapsulates his particular brand of insanity. You know who else that sounds like? Brent Venables.
Sure.
That would be the type of thing that Brent Venables would do.
Look, see, Brent, though, even though Brent's very intense when it comes to the sport of football, Brent also strikes me as a dude who had some game back in the day.
Oh, no doubt he did.
Yeah, like just hearing him talk and whatnot. Brent probably had some game. Jim Harbaugh, I don't know how much you went out to like social spots when you were in college, but we all had that one friend who we would go watch him walk up to the girl, and then immediately tell, homie's got no game. That's what I was thinking about listening to that story. Blue
Sooner says, I'm envisioning the SNL skit where Peyton Manning was fastballing those kids.
Yeah,
Pretty much. 318 listener says, let's theoretically say the Babe tourney came back. Theoretically, Margot Robbie has to be the 1 seed, right?
Yes.
I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty safe there. She would be the, well, I mean, maybe not the Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a new blood. She'd be like the UNC or the UCLA of the tournament.
Yeah.
Can pretty safely pencil them on the 1 line.
G Money from Kansas says, I went to Garden City JUCO with BV and have some good stories.
Really?
I would love to hear
Oh,
this.
I'm fascinated now. Brian and Bixby points out, well, at least Brent has situational awareness. Jim has none. Jim's just a straight football guy, man. I wonder who Michigan's next head coach is going to be. Probably not Jim Harbaugh, obviously, but you'd think it would be somebody that fits the Harbaugh mold because they'll want to get to the opposite end of the spectrum from Sharon Moore.
Yeah. Ever since Jim Harbaugh took over at Michigan, there's been 11 staffers I think that was the number I saw, that have had some form of punishment and or dismissal from the university. Like the last decade of Michigan football, and really if you want to extend it to men's basketball too with the Juwan Howard fiasco, Michigan's been going through it when it comes to their coaches.
And we were talking about this earlier off the air. What are the odds that in the span of 2 years, you have the head football coaches of both Michigan and Michigan State dismissed with cause for tawdriness, to put it mildly?
Yeah. Somebody on Twitter, I know I told you this earlier, Parker. Somebody on Twitter said Sharon Moore set us back 400 years.
Oh, man. The news just broke moments ago that Michigan has lost their first signee in the class of 2026. Four-star tight end Matt Ludwig out of the state of Montana has been released from his letter of intent.
So not that this is going to pertain to Oklahoma, but when a coach is fired, is it easier for kids to get out of their national letters of intent in the aftermath?
Yes. Yes, it typically is. The university, I mean, if a kid wants out of his letter of intent, the university's generally not going to fight him on it. Because if you don't want to be there, you don't want a guy that doesn't want to be there, right? So especially in a circumstance like this where guys are understandably wary of what the future holds at a university that they have to enroll at in January, yeah, it'll be very easy for these guys to get out of their letters of intent if they so desire. Now, I know for a fact what Michigan is telling all these kids for the time being is, we're going to make a splash hire. Don't you worry. Everything's going to be fine. Now, if that's the case, Grayson, I don't know how you feel about this, but I know there's been a lot of buzz regarding Kalen DeBoer's potential candidacy for that Michigan job. They couldn't hire Kalen DeBoer until next Saturday at the absolute earliest, and that's only if Oklahoma beats Alabama in the first round of the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you wait a week and a half right now to hire a new head football coach?
Now, I will say, when I hopped in with Josh at the end of Dari and Josh's show, I said that Michigan is rooting harder for Oklahoma than anybody else in the country for that very reason, is that if they want to bring Kalen DeBoer on, they're going to have to do this expeditiously. And the fastest it could come is if Oklahoma were to end Alabama's season next Friday night. So if that's the direction Michigan wants to go, no, they're hoping like hell that Alabama loses that game.
But, like, even so, can you wait until next Saturday if you're Michigan? Like,
no, that's a good point.
Who can you hire? Like Jed Fish, maybe? Question mark. He has history at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
His name hasn't been connected to that vacancy terribly credibly, at least from what I've seen and heard in discussing this and following this and tracking this in conjunction with some of my national colleagues at On3 and Rivals. This is a bad situation for Michigan, man. And this has the potential to really put them in a hole for quite a while. If they don't get it figured out in satisfactory fashion, and get it figured out quickly. You're going to lose guys to the transfer portal. That's a virtual certainty. And for Oklahoma, man, a program like the Sooners, man, you're salivating. You're chomping at the bit to see whether some of these guys that are on Michigan's current roster wind up making their way to the transfer portal, because there were no OU Michigan recruiting battles whatsoever in the 2026 class. None. Not a single one. It's kind of astonishing. But there's that element of randomness to the recruiting game that sometimes you just get a cycle where two big-time programs never go head-to-head over certain guys. But there are plenty of players on Michigan's current roster that in years past, Oklahoma battled the Wolverines over on the recruiting trail. Some guys that come to mind, well, first and foremost, three guys named Andrew. Andrew Babalola, 5-star offensive tackle in the 2025 cycle. Andrew Marsh, 4-star wideout in the 2025 cycle, who played a lot for Michigan as a true freshman this season. And then Andrew Sprague, their starting right tackle, who Oklahoma waited a little too long to get involved with back in the 2024 cycle, but had they not waited quite as long, they would have had a real strong case for the Rockhurst High School product out of the Kansas City area. So, if you're OU, man, you are at the ready and probably doing some back channeling right now because, by the way, you know where Jim Nagy graduated from? The University of Michigan. So, there's probably some back channeling happening right now. And if and when some of those guys hit the portal, I have no doubt Oklahoma's going to be ready to play the game. Does that mean they're going to get certain guys or any guys from Michigan should they wind up in the portal? Not necessarily. But, man, something like this happens, especially at this juncture on the calendar, your antenna are up if you're an OU football fan.
What do you think happens with Bryce Underwood?
See, here's the thing. The reason he went to Michigan in the first place, and I don't think it's much of a secret, is because they paid him handsomely.
Yes.
Handsomely. That is the reason he went to Michigan. He was happily committed to LSU. He was going to sign with LSU until Dave Portnoy and Larry Ellison and the big boosters at Michigan came to the table with 8 figures worth of NIL compensation for him. At that point, you're making the business decision, right? And so I have no doubt that right now, all of those same individuals are working feverishly to make sure they have their ducks in a row to be able to put an offer in front of Bryce Underwood that's going to be good enough to keep him at the University of Michigan, regardless of who the next head coach may be. And also tell him, hey, look, you're the guy here. You started here as a true freshman. This program is yours for the next 2 years, 3 years if you want it. If you want to play your senior year, this is your program. Don't mess that up. So I'm not necessarily under the impression right now that you're going to see Bryce Underwood bounce, but there will be guys. There will be guys from this Michigan team that turn tail and get out of town because that's just how it happens in moments like this. 405-651-3439 is the text line if you want to chime in. The show brought to you today by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. So much more ahead. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here with you. It is Thursday. This is Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. We'll be right back. Keep it here.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs. Whether it's a new install or repair work, let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
They don't want to hire you because your paper might say Oklahoma School for the Blind.
I was just completely homebound because I was always too afraid to go outside. I want to be a productive member of society, and that's what DRS has given me.
They offer you opportunities to getting a job, helping you learn how to advocate for yourself, find the best way to try living your life in the fullest way possible.
Oklahoma and DRS has been the biggest blessing in my life.
See me.
And not my disability.
Speed can't be taught. You got it or you don't. Rose Hill Builders has it. Their game plan is efficient, and they do not cut corners for quality. Trust old coach here. Call Rose Hill Builders to get your approval process started today. Rose Hill Builders, the team you want on your side.
I'm Oklahoma Sooner quarterback John Mateer. My job is to move the ball down the field and get the Sooners across the goal line. If you've been injured in an auto accident, you need a pro to be the quarterback of your medical care needs. Dr. Martin Lopez and the OKC Car Crash Clinic are your premier teammates to help you on your road to recovery. Dr. Lopez is a specialty trained MD with decades of experience. Make your best play call and contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH. That's 405 862-7274 or visit okccrash.com.
Hey, this is OEC Fiber. Tired of contracts, hidden fees, and support calls that send you halfway around the world? At OEC Fiber, what you see is what you get. No contracts, no fine print. Just fast, reliable internet that's backed by a local support team that picks up when you call. You're not just an account to us, you're our neighbor. So ditch the gimmicks and get fiber internet that's honest. Visit OECfiber.com to check availability. OEC Fiber, internet that puts its people first.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. Planning a Christmas or New Year's Eve proposal? Explore our extensive collection of engagement rings or let us create a custom design tailored to your style. From natural diamonds to lab-grown diamonds and colored gemstones, we craft pieces as unique as your love. Serving customers since 1981, it's our privilege to be part of all your special moments. Mitchell's Jewelry, engagement rings for every love story in the heart of Norman at 2201 West Main Street.
Wrap up your year with good times and great rewards.
Because Riverwind is OKC's best casino.
Feel the thunder when you play your best hand yet.
Catch your favorite entertainment at the Showplace Theater.
And enjoy the gift that keeps on giving when you use your wild card.
Every Friday in December, join us for your share of our $80,000 Winter Wishes giveaway.
Make your season brighter at your favorite place to play.
And happy holidays from Riverwind Casino.
'Tis the season for big drives, bright lights, and even bigger savings. Whether you're hauling home a fresh-cut tree or loading up for a winter getaway, the Ford F-150 STX is built to keep your holidays running strong. Right now at Confidence Ford of Norman, you can make one yours for $499 a month and enjoy 0% APR and 0 payments until March of 2026 on select models. The perfect holiday break. Visit us at 825 North Interstate Drive or online. Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Speed can't be taught. You got it or you don't. Rose Hill Builders has it. Their game plan is efficient and they do not cut corners for quality. Trust old coach here. Call Rose Hill Builders to get your approval process started today. Rose Hill Builders, the team you want on your side.
There's been a groundswell of support on the text line for the reinstitution of the Babe tournament.
Yeah, I don't know if this should scare me or not.
I mean, if we bring the Babe tournament back, it has to be us that puts it on, right? Like Steely
would have to be us.
Yeah. Steely's past the point in life where he would be the most ideally suited to orchestrate this tournament. I didn't even know who Charo was. End of last hour when he was talking about the former 1 seeds in their Babe tournaments of old. Charo?
No clue.
She's 74 years old right now. I looked her up and I saw that. I was like, okay, probably need a little bit of a refresh on this whole process.
I will say a texter in the 405 does approve of who my childhood celebrity crush was.
And that is
Alexandra Daddario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll allow it.
You ever watch Percy Jackson?
I never watched Percy Jackson, but I've seen many things that she's been in.
Okay, there you go.
Yep. Okay, that she would be in contention for a 1 seed. Yeah, she would be a high seed, no doubt about it.
Another texter in the 405 says, "Please no." I'm not going to read the entire text.
Oh, that texter! All they ever do is just text miserable things. We like to have fun on the radio. Apparently, some of you don't, but we like having fun. By the way, let's dig in before we get too sidetracked by all of the discourse. Stop. Somebody just said, I'm not going to name her by name, but the female staffer at the heart of the Sharon Moore controversy should be admitted into the tournament. Just
No.
Okay, folks. Let's talk about Oklahoma's 2026 recruiting class, shall we? While the text line goes on and tries to compile the field for the modern-day Babe tournament.
Tattoo Baker, that is wild.
We will talk about OU's 2026 recruiting class. And, Grayson, we graded this class in an overall sense last week on signing day, but I want to get a little bit deeper. And I want to talk through each of these position groups and the haul that Oklahoma wound up with at each of them across the board. So let's start up front. Let's start with Ben Arbuckle in the quarterback room because that's obviously the easiest, most natural place to start. But you have one guy there. It's Bo Bentley. If you had to grade it, how would you grade Oklahoma's quarterback recruiting efforts in the 2026 cycle in which they essentially substituted Bo Bentley for Jaden O'Neal?
A-. A- because I love the fit with Bentley and Arbuckle. I also love that he's Arbuckle's hand-picked dude. I am never going to give a quarterback, unless you are Trevor Lawrence coming out of high school, I'm not going to give a quarterback an A+. There's too much volatility as to whether or not they pan out. So an A+ is automatically off the table for me. But an A-, excellent fit, excellent prospect.
I'm probably right there with you, and for the exact same reason. There's so much uncertainty about how it's going to translate at the next level, but Bo Bentley is a really natural fit for everything Ben Arbuckle wants to do and has done with John Mateer. There's a lot of similarities to Mateer's game and the way that Bentley goes about his business on the gridiron, and he's going to be – I think he's going to be very similar to John Mateer in many ways. He's a lot more mechanically sharp as a thrower, which will be a refreshing reality for the Oklahoma fan base because Mateer has understandably taken a lot of flack for his mechanical imperfections, but Bentley's a really, really polished thrower. And at about 6'1", 200, you figure he's going to pack on some muscle. And by the time he is starting, if and when he is starting at the University of Oklahoma, he'll probably be in that same 6'1", 220 range that Mateer sits in. Running back, Dezeffin Walker, Jonathan Hatton, what say you?
B+. B+. Two good players, especially Hatton. Dezeffin Walker is... He's a nice player. I don't know if I'm through the roof on him necessarily, but he's a nice player. Don't get me wrong. Jonathan Hatton, to me, and we've said this before, he could have a really high ceiling, or because of how physically developed he is, he could potentially have a floor that's a little bit lower, right? But at his best, he could be outstanding for you. So I think there's high upside. There is a little bit of a low side, I think, with this class. So a B+ in my mind. But it gets elevated there because of Jonathan Hatton and how that whole story came full circle.
Yeah, I think this group is an A, actually.
Okay.
Because I do like Dezeffin Walker. I think he is a high floor player at the next level. And the guy that I compared him to was Torrey Blaylock in the sense that he's just really solid at everything. You know, is he the same level of prospect that Jonathan Hatton is in terms of the ceiling? No. Jonathan Hatton has maybe the highest ceiling of any running back in the 26 cycle, and that's what's so exciting about the fact that Oklahoma was able to flip him late from Texas A&M. But I think Walker is one of those guys in this 26 cycle that, especially because he's alongside Hatton and especially because Hatton is going to carry the majority of the headlines for that group, I don't know that Walker is going to get adequate recognition for how good of a player and how well-rounded of a player he is. I don't know that he's leading Oklahoma in rushing as a true freshman like Torrey Blaylock did, but he could be that guy that exceeds expectations pretty early on, and it becomes apparent pretty early on that he is going to exceed whatever relatively modest expectations he may bring to Oklahoma as a high 3-star guy. Tight end, Tyler Ruxer, Ryder Mix. Thoughts?
A+.
Wow, okay.
A+. Ryder Mix is a nice to good player. I think he's going to be a very good college tight end. I think Tyler Ruxer is a dog, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Tyler Ruxer is a dude that you look at one day as a potential, middle of the second round into the first round type of guy, depending on how the tight end fluctuation goes with that particular draft. I think this dude can be a matchup nightmare. He's big, but you can line him up at X. You can line him up at the slot. He can block too. Good route runner. I see him as a piece that, if developed well, can take the ceiling off of your offense because of the amount of things you can do and the amount of dictating matchups that you could do with this type of player.
He's one of the highest ceiling players in the entire class for Oklahoma. If I had to grade this tight end group, I would say B+.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of unknowns for me. Ryder Mix is dealing with an ACL tear right now that he's working back from, so he's going to miss spring ball. Probably not going to be full throttle again until fall camp in August. And maybe he's hampered long-term, maybe he's not. But you got to take that into consideration. And Ruxer, for all that he is as an athletic specimen, and he is a superior athletic specimen, there's still going to be a learning curve as he acclimates to the tight end position because he hasn't really played tight end. He's been a wide receiver throughout his high school career. And he's a good pass catcher. He's a good blocker, at least on tape, against other high schoolers. It's a little bit different when you're trying to do it in the SEC. So by virtue of the unknown factor, I think I would grade tight end a B+. That brings us to wide receiver. Jaden Petit, Xavier Okafuleze, Jasir Rogers, and Daniel Odom.
Can't really go lower than an A on this one.
No, I don't think you can
I don't think. Especially with how panicked everybody was at the wide receiver position in June when Daniel Odom was still the lone commit, and then the season takes on the shape that it did, and then you flip Jaden Petit, flip Jasir Rogers, taking advantage of the Penn State situation, and then Zizi Okafuleze. You have 4 dudes who have immensely high ceilings. And that's what I'm going to bank on with this one. Plus, a guy in Jaden Petit who could reasonably be a contributor day one.
I think this is an A group. I would give them the same A grade that I gave to the running back room. So I guess as far as offensive skill positions, running backs, receivers, I guess, tight end technically is a skill position. But running backs and receivers, I'll give both of those groups an A. I love Jaden Petit. That's no secret. I love Jasir Rogers. That's no secret. Daniel Odom is probably – that is another guy right there along with DeZeph Walker that probably isn't going to get his due because of his peers at that position in the class, but he's an awesome prospect as well. And it's about the ceiling with Okafuleze, and the ceiling is enormous. It's going to be about how he develops. It's going to be about how he acclimates, but he can be a serious player at the University of Oklahoma as well. I don't think Oklahoma could have done much better than they did at wide receiver, and the late loss of Braden Allen really doesn't change my opinion at all of this wide receiver class. Offensive line, Noah Best, Deacon Schmidt. They came up a little short here.
Yeah. B-. B-, and you got 2 really good prospects, but only 2 offensive linemen. To me, is concerning. I said this on signing day. Only signing 2, given this program's recent history of an inability to keep guys healthy, to me, is a red flag for me. Now, it's not as if they didn't try for more, obviously, but you're not going to win them all. But you got 2 really good players. That's why you're in the B range. But the quantity here is a little bit problematic in my eyes.
Agreed. I would give it a B just because I really, really like both Schmidt and Best, and I think by year 2, those guys are going to be at least in the mix to start. And I would say Best is probably a guy that I do think will start year 2 on the interior. But Jim Nagy himself said it on signing day. They wanted more. They got 2. The 2 they got are good, but felt like they could have stood to add at least 1 or 2 additional offensive linemen, and they were unable to. So it feels incomplete. Can't go much higher than the B there. Let's loop the defensive line all in together. So between defensive ends and defensive tackles, you have Brian Harris, you have James Carrington at defensive tackle, and then on the edge, Jake Krell, Matthew Nelson, Daniel Norman. How would you grade Oklahoma's defensive line in this class?
A+. A+.
Wow.
You've got high-end talent mixed with developmental talent, so I like the mix there, particularly with them going into the rooms of Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates. So I like fit with the coaches. I also like the fact that if you look at how Oklahoma is foundationally built, it starts with that defensive line. And they have secured that future for 2027, 2028, and beyond. So if you look at the heart and soul of this team, you look at how they mesh with the coaching staff, and you look at the combination between blue chip talent and guys that have a high ceiling but need development, I think they did everything right here.
I would subtract the plus. I would call it an even A. I would have liked to have seen Oklahoma grab 1 more defensive tackle.
I can agree with that.
They had one more defensive tackle for the longest time in T-Ron Richardson, and they decided not to proceed with him shortly before signing day. But between Harris and Carrington, that's a pretty good interior duo. I don't know that it's an elite interior duo, but those are both guys that offer plenty of developmental upside, and then just love that edge group. Krell, Norman, Nelson. That's the best edge class that Miguel Chavis has signed at Oklahoma. And in my mind, I don't think it's close. I think all three of those dudes are going to make a serious impact at Oklahoma when their time comes. Linebackers, 4 of them. Dane Bathurst, Christian Moore, Bo Jandro, Jacob Curry. What do we think?
B+. B+. Jacob Curry, to me, and again, this is just me watching the tape, he looks more like a safety to me. I still hold to that opinion, but he's a good player. Christian Moore, a late find. I like him. Dane Bathurst, to me, is something I'm just not sure about. I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, we like him at off-ball linebacker. I love him as an edge rusher, man. So, I'm not entirely sold with the transition, but Bo Jandro, good player. These are all really good athletes and guys to learn under Nate Dreiling and Brent Venables. So it's a B+ for me.
They are all really good athletes, and you give Brent Venables 4 really good athletes at the linebacker position, he's going to make at least a couple of them into absolute studs. So I would grade this linebacker haul an A-, and I really like the more I study Dane Bathurst, man, I'm coming around to it. Initially, I didn't really see it the way that Jim Nagy in this front office saw it with Dane Bathurst as an off-ball linebacker rather than an edge rusher. But I'm coming around, man. I can see the appeal. I'm starting to see it more and more. Okay, let's kind of conglomerate the secondary together same way because Oklahoma only signed 1 cornerback in Derek Johnson, but got a couple safeties, Nico Jandro, Markel Ford. What do we think?
This was the hardest one for me. Because I love me some Derek Johnson Jr. I'm going to go B+ on this one. B to B+ is what I'm going to go with. 1 corner, 2 safeties. Markel Ford, I love his positional versatility. Same with Jandro. I'm not quite there that there is a superstar safety yet. I think Johnson could be a really, really good player. I'm just not there that there's a superstar safety. So when I look at it from that perspective, that gets me into the B+ to B range with this group.
I like the versatility that Jandro brings. He's a guy that I could see sliding down to Cheetah and thriving there.
Yes.
If that's what they feel like is the right fit for him within the defense. But I think Markel Ford has superstar potential, and it's just potential. And we got to see him develop, and we got to see him buy in. And we got to see him sharpen the rough edges in his game. But I love Markel Ford, man. I think he could be something special in Norman. And agree wholeheartedly that Derek Johnson is a guy. Oklahoma only needed 1 cornerback.
Exactly.
They only needed 1. The one they got, Derek Johnson, awesome. Love him. Think that depending on the health of that room more than anything, next fall, he could be a guy that's getting a few snaps as a true freshman. I believe that. All right, so there you go. We covered the whole class in the span of about 10 minutes, grading every single position group. And, of course...
And I think you get an A for Trace Rudd, too, the kicker.
Oh, absolutely. Lest I forget. Trace Rudd, definitely an A addition at kicker. And hopefully the next Tate Sandell. Although Oklahoma does have a young kicker already on the roster in Liam Evans that is probably next up immediately after Sandell. Rudd's probably going to have to wait his turn, but Oklahoma's in a pretty comfortable position with regard to the specialist room, which is a stark contrast and a refreshing contrast to many of the years in recent history. 405-651-3439. Got thoughts? I know many of you do, and you're already voicing them on the text line. So keep firing away. One more segment of Locked In coming up next here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it in.
Dusty Dvorak here. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Business owners, it's that time of the year again. The clock is ticking on your Section 179 tax saving, and here at Seth Wadley Ram in Pauls Valley, we're here to make it count. Buy your new work truck, van, or fleet vehicle before December 31st, and you can write off the full purchase price on your 2025 taxes. That's right. Get your business needs now, and let Uncle Sam help pay for it. Whether you need a Ram heavy duty, crew cab, and chassis, or a fleet vehicle, we've got the inventory to keep your business moving forward. Just ask for me, Joseph Dabrowski, General Manager, and I will personally work with you. We have millions in inventory for you to choose from in all sizes and all trims. And you'll keep getting savings with Seth spending over $24 million and counting on a promise. Tell them, Seth.
That's my promise of oil changes and engines for life on new or used gas or diesel at no additional cost to you.
So get to the store with more at Seth Wadley Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on I-35 exit 72 in Pauls Valley, or click SethWadleyDodge.com.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
364-9999, it's Home Creations.
Hey, Ref Army, it's your favorite regional radio star, Mike Steele. If I know one thing, it's taking a metaphorical pie to your face for a bad sports take. If you want to see the guys from the Rush, Teddy and Tyler, get a literal pie in the face, then boy, do I have good news for you. The Ref is teaming up with the United Way of Norman for their Pie in the Face fundraiser, and we're putting the Butkus beer directly in the line of fire. But you can only see Teddy and Tyler take one for the team with that pie if they raise the most money. Just go to UnitedWayNorman.org, click on the Pie in the Face button, and donate to vote for the Rush to get pie right there in their face. The United Way of Norman is an organization who we at the Ref have had a long-standing relationship with and would love to have the Ref Army help them out this holiday season. Just go to UnitedWay.org and you'll see the Rush covered in meringue in no time.
Entrepreneurs and More Norman in South Oklahoma City have an experienced business partner in their neighborhood. More Norman Technology Center's workforce and economic development team understands the challenges entrepreneurs and small businesses face every day. From building an effective business model to hiring the right employees and managing cash flow, More Norman's business development experts can help you move forward confidently and thrive, knowing that you have a skilled partner at your side. Learn more about More Norman's Technology Center by calling 405-801-5000 or visit us online at mntc.edu.
Sidelined by injury, illness, surgery? Valor Physical Therapy and H2 Health Company can help. A 10-time Community Choice Award winner, let our skilled therapists create a rehabilitation program individualized just for you. Whether it's sports or the activities of life, let Valor get you back in the game. Start now at valorpt.com or call 405-609-3637. No referral needed. Mention the Ref and get a free t-shirt at your first appointment.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
I assume you saw earlier this week, Grayson, that the University of Utah is apparently poised to engage in a $500 million private equity deal.
Cannot say I was excited when I heard that news.
Oh, man. It's about that time of year where obviously football is about to go by the wayside for the winter, spring, and summer here in about another month, and we'll have a lot more time on our hands to kind of pick apart all of the nuances of situations like these that can fundamentally affect the sport as we know it. But I was, while we were in the break, skimming through a really fascinating Substack article from I guess, a lawyer that is an alumnus of the University of Utah, and he was weighing in on the private equity deal, and he actually advocated for it, which I thought was interesting. But I want to read you this very brief excerpt. He said, as a lawyer, I advise clients to deal with the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. The world where college football was a charming regional pastime is gone. It was litigated out of existence thanks to stupid lawyers. I still hope that one day conferences will once again make sense geographically, but I digress. We are now in an era of free agency, revenue sharing, and uncapped costs. In that world, I believe the schools that operate like businesses will survive, and the schools that operate like charities will fade. The University of Utah looked at the House settlement and realized that the old budget models were insolvent. They didn't panic. They structured a deal using a sleeper 501c3, a calculated waiver of sovereign immunity, and sophisticated capital markets logic to solve a sophisticated problem. Are there landmines the university will have to carefully sidestep? Absolutely. They're navigating a Title IX tightrope, inviting the SEC, i.e. the Securities and Exchange Commission, to scrutinize their donor lists, dodging transparency laws by turning the department into a black box and betting the House that Congress doesn't burn it all down with H.R. 5693. But the risk of inaction is irrelevance. Utah has chose to leverage their assets to secure their survival. It's bold, it's legally creative, and frankly, it's the kind of forward-thinking strategy that makes me think and desperately hope the Utes are going to be just fine. So TLDR, get ready, it's coming, is basically his standpoint on things. Private equity is going to take over college sports.
The only thing I will say, because I have not looked at how Utah has structured the situation at all, has private equity made anything better?
Great question.
That's my only take that I have on this right now. Has anything ever gotten better when private equity got involved?
It certainly made a lot of things worse.
Yes.
Ain't no doubt about that. Back to the text line. Lantana Sooner says, top 3 under-the-radar guys from the 2026 class who could turn into Cortland Guillory. Well, here's the thing, Lantana Sooner. Like, Cortland Guillory wasn't under the radar.
By no means.
At least if you were listening to the right people. And I know I wasn't the only one talking up Cortland Guillory, and Lord knows I am not right about everything. But signing day last year, I said Cortland Guillory might be the most underrated guy in this entire class. Spring practice rolled around. I said Cortland Guillory is a guy that's going to play a lot this fall. Throughout August, I remember being up at the OU Club of Tulsa kickoff event in mid-August and telling those folks, hey, Cortland Guillory is going to start this year, and he's going to be a big-time player for Oklahoma this year as a freshman. Just be ready for that. So Cortland Guillory is not a guy that I would really categorize as under the radar in the sense that his freshman season has been surprising. And again, I was not the only one that was talking up that possibility and that likelihood with Cortland Guillory and the type of freshman season he could have at Oklahoma in 2025. But if you're looking at guys that probably aren't getting their due when we're talking about the headliners in the 2026 class, guys that could have a year one impact that aren't, for instance, Jonathan Hatton and Jaden Petit, etc. The guys that spring to mind for me, Jake Krell, obviously, he's kind of out of the picture too. Daniel Norman. That's A1 for me. Daniel Norman.
Okay.
I think Daniel Norman could play very soon and make an impact very soon at Oklahoma, which is pretty deep at defensive end. But even so, I think that kid's special. I think Jake Krell is every bit as special, but the world kind of knows that Jake Krell is special. I don't know that the world has figured out Daniel Norman is special.
Does Derek Johnson Jr. qualify for this conversation?
That's another good suggestion, and I feel like he belongs right there in that conversation alongside Daniel Norman as guys that, if you're asking the casual fan to list off the 5 best players in Oklahoma's 2026 recruiting class, his name probably isn't getting mentioned, but could be a guy that contends for playing time right off the bat.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially with his size and his good technique. I think you could maybe not see a repeat of Cortland Guillory, but you could see a Cortland Guillory-like talent and aptitude for playing the position as early as a freshman year with this guy.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other one, And this really is kind of a shot in the dark because you don't really know how it's going to translate, and it all is kind of contingent upon how it translates. But if Tyler Ruxer is ready, that's one of those guys that physically isn't going to have anything holding him back. It's going to be about the mental aspect of the game for him and the mental aspect of playing the tight end position and executing the responsibilities that come with that position.
But also, as the tight end room stands right now, is there a better option that would excite you more than to be like, hey, by week 3, Tyler Ruxer is our tight end 1? Is there a more exciting? Like, I know you're high on Caden Helms. I know you like Cade McIntyre, but we've got a big enough sample size to know that either they're not going to be that effective or they're just not going to be available enough.
Yeah, well, McIntyre's just always hurt, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him. Yes, but
so you can't really count on him you can't count on him to be available at this point.
Yeah,
right.
I think the path is there for Ruxer to contribute.
It absolutely is
in year 1.
We'll see what they do in the portal at tight end, but the one guy that you feel you can count on at that position going into next season is Caden Helms. What do we know about Oklahoma and really any other SEC school that actually uses the tight end? They're going to use more than one.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be Caden Helms out there for 60, 70 snaps a game. So there's going to be room for multiple guys. And with Jaren Kanak moving on and Will Huggins moving on, is it out of the realm of possibility that Tyler Ruxer could step up and challenge a guy like Carson Kent for those snaps that are left behind if Caden Helms is your starter in principle at the tight end position?
On the YouTube chat, Kevin says, this will be a blast from the past, by the way. Ruxer reminds me a lot of Tyler Eifert.
Tyler Eifert? That's a
former Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah, I remember Tyler Eifert. That is not the comp I would have expected from the YouTube chat, but well done, Kevin. I don't hate that. Empire Will brought up Trenae Washington, and yeah, it's another guy. Like he'll have a chance. I mean, it's gonna be open season at that position. The one guy that you know is going to be playing snaps there in 2026 is Caden Helms, but outside of him, it could be any of these guys. This is exactly the same conversation that we had about the tight ends over the summer, Grayson. And we discussed the reality that because it is so wide open, yeah, Jaren Kanak's only been playing the position for 4 months, but why not him? You know? And so it's kind of the same thought for me going into next year, pending what they do in the portal at that position. Why not Tyler Ruxer? Why not Trenae Washington?
Couple more texts. Steve in Colorado Springs says, these kids will be wearing corporate logo patches all over their jerseys soon. If it's one, I'm okay with it. If it starts to get, obnoxious.
NASCAR suits?
Yes. WNBA type of corporate sponsorships that are the main draw on the uniform. Okay, now we're talking about an issue. But Joel from Peaster, I hope I pronounced that right, I have zero faith that Joe John can develop a tight end. And here's the question that I have as it pertains to Joe John Finley. He did just take this dude that was a linebacker and turn him into an all-SEC tight end. To me, that counts for something.
Yeah, third-team all-SEC.
Yeah, third-team all-SEC, and had never played on the offensive side of the ball in college.
Less than a year after switching sides of the football. Are we just going to act like Joe John Finley had absolutely nothing to do with that? Well, Joe John can't develop a tight end. Joe John develops a tight end. Well, he doesn't get credit for that one. Develop another tight end. Like, how long are we going to do this? How long are we going to do this? I'm not going to sit here and act like Joe John Finley is the best tight ends coach in America. But he gets credit for Jaren Kanak. He gets credit for the work that he's put in with Jaren Kanak. You want to hold Joe John's feet to the fire for the guys that he hasn't developed or the instances in years past where production from that room has been very minimal, fine. But we can call a spade here, and we will on this show.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Sooner Hotshot. That has nothing to do with Joe John. Kanak is that good of an athlete.
Okay, well, I mean, If that's what it's going to be, like when
some people just can't be talked off this.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years from now when Tyler Ruxer goes for 1,000 yards, let's just say, is that going to be because Joe John's a good coach or Tyler Ruxer's just a really good athlete? You can't diss Joe John when the tight ends do nothing and then refuse to give him credit when the tight ends do something. Can't have it both ways, folks.
Nah.
He gets a tip of the cap. You don't have to crown him. You don't have to crown him, Dennis Green. But you do got to give Joe John his props.
Texter the 918, is that Joe John or more credit to Canick for working hard?
Oh, boy.
Man, some people are just not going to get off this dude, man.
Give anyone and anything credit but Joe John Finley. That's fine. That's how it's going to be. I get it. All right, folks, we're done for this Thursday. We'll resume all of these hot debates with y'all tomorrow when we return. Same time, same place. Here on the Ref Sports Radio Network, the home of Sooner fans. The Rush is next.